Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, Mahyar Tousi, Paul Golding, Tommy Robinson, they're all fascists. And they're all fascists because the media tell us they're fascists. The same media also say that they're right-wing extremists. Now, those of you who are familiar with what I'm about to say would probably be laughing at this massive contradiction. But for the rest of you, I'm not expecting anyone to run off and read the Doctrine of Fascism by Giovanni Gentili and Mussolini. It's a very in-depth ideology. So a lot of what I'm going to say is dumbing it down. But fascism is leftist ideology. Now let me just run this through you quickly. Leftism, socialism, communism is about sharing land, wealth, all equally. For the government to first take away private ownership, land, finance. They can't do it without being a fascist government. So Giovanni Gentili knew that the only workable form of socialism was fascism. And this is why every single fascist country has been communist. Under a communist regime, from Cuba, Venezuela to Soviet Russia to China, they're all under fascist governments. Because socialism doesn't work without fascism. People aren't just going to think, oh, this land has been in my family for generations and generations. I better divide it and split it amongst the community. No. Elon Musk isn't going to think I've worked my socks off to earn all these billions of pounds. I better split it within the community. It doesn't work like that. For socialism to work, the government has to be fascist and take away private ownership, land, money. Now, right wing is all about small government, low taxation. It's all about privatisation, capitalism, individual investments. So that's what right wing's about. So it's actually impossible to have right wing ethics under a fascist government. It's impossible. But it's impossible to have socialism without fascism. Now, fascism is a dirty word. It really is. That's why the left use it. Like terms like racist and Nazi or National Socialist. But they just find these dirty terms that they can call people who disagree with them. Now, of course, that's kind of fascist in its own sense. They're trying to shut people down with labels that they've created for these people. Now, you look at people that have been involved in fascism and where they come from. Mussolini was a part of the socialist movement within Italy. Adolf Hitler was a part of the National Socialist movement within Germany. You've had Fidel Castro, fascist, communist. So every single time that communism or leftism has been established, it has been through a fascist government. Now all these people, the UK, for example, right? We're British. Probably a lot of people are watching this are from Britain. Oswald Mosley, you remember him? He came from Labour to form the British Fascist Party. He didn't come from the Conservatives. He came from Labour. And that's what it is. It comes from leftism, not right wing. So to call somebody a right-wing fascist is ludicrous. It's a paradox. It's moronic. So I'd like to hear your thoughts, obviously, on fascism and how you think the far right are implementing fascism. Especially Tommy Robinson. I mean, he's called a fascist. How's he creating a fascist government whilst he's behind bars? It makes no sense. Donald Trump's a fascist. They tried to put him in prison and assassinate him. God knows how many times. And when he did lose in 2020, when he lost the presidency, he stepped down straight away. Now, fascists don't step down from their rule. They don't give up power. So, thank you ever so much for listening to this. And I would really like to hear your thoughts on it. And these phrases need to actually, they need to stop, or they need to actually address where these phrases come from. I mean, you look at Wikipedia, for example, it says fascism is right-wing ideology. You look at Nazi page there, oh, they're the right-wing. There was nothing right-wing about the Nazis. Nothing. They introduced welfare. They introduced the German Workers' Front. They introduced Equality Acts. These aren't things that come from right-wing. They are things that come from left-wing. The German Nazi uniforms were made by Hugo Boss. The vehicles they drove were Volkswagen. These companies didn't want that. The German Nazis took over the means of production. That's not something that comes from right-wing ideology. So that's my rant over with, and I hope that a lot of you agree, and I hope that the ones that don't agree actually go off and do a bit of research on this, because I've been called a fascist for decades, and so with that in mind, I researched what fascism actually was, or is, and yeah, that's how I know about fascism. But yeah, The Doctrine of Fascism by Giovanni Gentili, Mussolini, is a good book on fascism. You've got the speeches from Rocco. They were very detailing what fascism actually is. But do a bit of research and you'll clearly see the same as what I see. Fascism is leftist ideology. So stop calling anyone right-wing a fascist. Thank you ever so much for listening, and I'll speak to you in the next video.